Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
"35 years ago, here's a VHS copy to prove it. We were left a wreck in US theaters when Optimus Prime died. 35 years later, we get a 4K Blu-ray restoration, and I'm talking to the guy who redesigned the cover of this beautifully restored film, Matt Ferguson, Scotsman, Irishman, somewhere in the UK. God only knows what you really are, but thank you so much for talking to me today from across the ocean.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Transformers was a huge part of so many of us Gen Xers' lives. My face is puffy because I didn't sleep well last night, and I'm fat, so it doesn't even help on top of that. But I get excited to sit there and watch the revamped copy of everything that's gone through. I have it on VHS, on DVD, which is my DVD copy is signed by the late Wally Burr, who is the voice director on the film. I got a Blu-ray copy, and now I got a 4K copy. So the only thing I'm really missing is Laserdisc with all of this. What was it about Transformers for you that was so exciting? And then take us into being the guy who gets to redesign the copy of one of the most iconic posters ever for an animated feature.
Cool. So when I was a kid, I was a little bit younger for Transformers. I was born in 1983. I've got two older brothers, and they were really into Transformers, and I inherited a lot of their toys. So I got the toys first. And then I started watching cartoons in the UK. They broke the stories down into like little 5-minute segments that we had. So it was like you had to catch it all to get the story. And that was my introduction to Transformers. And then the movie, I'm pretty sure I went to a theatre to see it. And it just totally like blew my tiny mind. And then we had a local video shop, and they had a VHS, and I used to rent it every week because obviously back in the day, that's how you got most films. You have to rent them. I remember my mum, every week, my mum was like, "Do you really want to rent this again? We've just brought it back." And I'd be like, "Yes, I do." So basically, since then, I've always been obsessed with Transformers, especially G1. And then sort of as I've grown up, I've had a career in film and art and design and stuff. So then when I sort of heard rumblings of stuff happening with Transformers, I just put myself out there and was like, I need to do this personally. So that's what happened. And then they were like, yeah, okay, if you really want to, you can do it. And I was like, I do. There you go.
Yeah, if you really want to. Oh, okay, sure. Be very passive and nonchalant about living a childhood dream and being a part and leaving an imprint on an anniversary edition of Transformers. That's like people saying, I guess I'll be in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, I've done a lot of pop culture artwork and stuff for a lot of things that I really love, like Star Wars and Star Trek and Marvel stuff. But the Transformers one's a bit different because that's sort of been part of my life as long as I can remember. So yeah, it's quite a special one, really.
And since you did have older brothers and you inherited their toys as they went off to play soccer and rugby and cricket, and we're going to be as stereotypical as possible of whatever's in the UK, older sister that probably played rounders or whatever.
Yeah.
What was their reaction when they find out that their little brother, who inherited all their G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Star Wars toys, is now working on these artistic properties?
Well, they're just always blown away and just like, wow, that's amazing. And I'm like, it's work, okay? It's serious. But this one, Transformers, because I didn't tell them, especially with us all being isolated because they live far away from me. I remember my brother messaged me when it got announced, and he was just like, "What?" So that was really cool, like to get that response from my brother saying it was really awesome. So I think he's even pre-ordered one, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a DVD player.
Did you tease him and go, "No, it's a different Matt Ferguson"?
I did not tease him because I was too excited, and I was just like, "Yeah, I did it, yeah."
Yeah. All right. So you used to rent the VHS copy as often as you possibly could as a kid. When it was released in the theater here, we were left such a wreck that they had to add, which you got in the UK copy, that Optimus Prime will return. When we left the theater at 8 years old, it might have even been there, and we were just too blown away that they killed Optimus Prime to even pay attention that he's coming back. Because when they killed him, not only does he die, he fades to gray as if to solidify all the color of his entire being is drained from his life force. Take us back to when, you just now got your 4K copy because shipping issues. I think we have boats that are in the Pacific Ocean that are almost back to Taiwan at this point, going into LA Harbor with the way the world fell apart. Rewatching it as an adult in comparison to the childhood version of yourself, is there still that wow factor, or does it come to a point like, I'll give you an example. When I was a little kid, He-Man was a big deal, and I used to love the cartoon, and my friend has a collection of the original toys. I think we were like 4 or 5 years old when He-Man came out. And my dad was like, my father was an immigrant to the United States from the Middle East, and he's like, this is garbage. What do you like this for? And of course, 4 or 5 years old, you get upset and you're defending it. And then I bought like the 25th or 30th anniversary edition box set, watched all the documentaries and everything. And then I start watching the cartoon. I was like, from adult perspective, this isn't as good as I remember.
Yeah, well, you can sort of say that about the sort of Saturday cartoon of Transformers, because it's very sort of cheesy, and it's usually like Megatron trying to take over a power plant or make a rocket to move the moon out of orbit and stuff like that. It's just like, okay. But then the movie still is very different in tone and approach. It's like they go out into space. It's totally out there. It's got all these crazy new characters. They kill everybody. And when you're like a 6-year-old, that's crazy. But then when you're sort of grown up, I know it was done to sell toys originally, but in doing that, it kind of creates like this, before anything like Game of Thrones was around or anything like that, this sort of like anybody could get it. If Optimus Prime gets it, anybody could get it. So like that was my first sort of experience as a child with that. But I just got the 4K yesterday, actually, the disc, and I watched it, and it's sort of like my memory of how it was, because the picture quality is vastly improved, the colors really pop, and they've cleaned it up as well. So obviously we watched it on video on little tube TVs and it was like fine, but really, you didn't get the sort of level of detail. So I noticed lots of things that I never noticed before in the animation, and there's certain scenes that really do sort of hold up, and then other scenes where it's like a bit sort of like, oh, that guy's the wrong color and stuff, but that's all part of it, really. So I think it holds up as a film and is quite influential, probably more influential than a lot of people realize, because we all loved it as kids, and we grow up and we get these jobs doing these things, and it bleeds through.
Right. Like I got to interview Judd Nelson at one point, and everyone's just like, oh my God, it's the guy from St. Elmo's Fire and all this stuff. And I was like, dude, it's Rodimus Prime. And he started laughing because he's like, not too many people remember I was the voice of Hot Rod in the film. And, Robert Stack, Orson Welles, and, just a tremendous cast. I think this was like one of the very first time, and they use the term stunt casting now, but where celebrities took on the roles of major characters. Leonard Nimoy became Galvatron, and so on and so forth. As it progresses, I watched it the other day. I got it 2 days ago. My FedEx guy, was a little late on bringing it over, so you got a what for, but but I watched it again in 4K, and it just blows me away going from VHS to 4K, where we've gone in design and art and everything else, and the level of detail that they can do with the restoration. It's almost visually an entirely different movie. As you said, your brother, who probably doesn't even have a 4K player, still pre-ordered a copy, which shows great support for the family. Are you going to have like a movie night with the siblings at the next family gathering?
Probably. I don't know. That's the thing though, because when we have a family gathering, it'll be at our parents' house. And I'm pretty sure my dad will be like, get that trash off the TV. So Probably not. He's never really liked. They do like some good things. They, like they're big fans of like John Carpenter and stuff. My parents, but Transformers and He-Man and Spider-Man and stuff like that. They never really liked that sort of cartoonish stuff. So that would be, I would like to, but I would get vetoed, no doubt.
You should just take one of the posters that you have framed and give it as a gift to your father. That's like your backup plan at that point.
Yeah. You just know what it was. What is this?
It's like, hey, my son gets to make money off his hobby, and so I'm happy for him.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of parents will sit there that weren't in the arts, that look at your career and treat it as a hobby that's a moneymaker, and ask when you're going to get a real job. This is your real job, and you've done quite well for yourself. How satisfying is it when people get excited for your work, even though they can't put a face to the art?
It's incredibly satisfying, to be honest. Like, the best is when people have one of my sort of posters on the wall. So obviously, like, I'll do something that's promotional and a giveaway and stuff like that, and that's cool. But when somebody says, I love this so much, I'm going to put it on my wall, and it's something that I made, that's just like a really good feeling. So I'm expecting people to send me messages and tweets with Transformers posters on their wall, because I put a lot of effort into it.
Do you ever feel like I joke with friends that are authors and they'll see their book in the bookstore? I was like, do you ever have that temptation of just going into the bookstore, taking a copy of your own book and nobody knows who you are, and just autographing random ones at various intervals to see if you come back and they've been sold? Or is that considered vandalism? Do you have that drive?
I've never done that, but I did in a previous life work in a record store in the UK called HMV, and I can remember, this is maybe part of also where I've sort of got this drive to do this poster artwork or DVD artwork, because I can remember when new releases would come out, and if it was subpar, I'd be like, what is this? Who made this? Did they even see the film? Things like that. So yeah, I don't think I've ever been in a shop and looked at my own stuff on a shelf, because I'd feel a bit weird and like people were watching me, even though I have no idea who I am.
Not that narcissistic.
No.
Yeah. So
I'm far too British.
So technically, you do judge the book by its cover.
Yeah.
You're still having fun with all this. You get to do various art projects, whether it's DVD covers, album covers. Transformers itself has had a huge impact on your life. It seems that here in the States, we used to ask if you were a robot kid or a dinosaur kid. It seems like you were a little more of a robot kid in that aspect, as I was. What is it about some of these science fiction and fantasy properties that was your big draw, whereas your parents' generation might be, ringers and love Lord of the Rings and whatever else, and you get drawn into Transformers and He-Man?
Well, I guess it's kind of the same thing. So like, and my parents do love Lord of the Rings, love it, the book, because obviously they were the right age when that was sort of a new book. And for me, it's just being transported to another place, another life. That's like, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, because it feels like it's somewhere where you could live and have a good time. Now, I wouldn't necessarily want to live in the world of Transformers, because I'm not sure as a human being I'd have a good time. But that was one of the things I've always loved about the movie, is that Daniel, the little kid, gets the robot suit that turns into a car. And then as you were a kid, you're like, I would really like a robot suit that turned into a car. And so it's that other world that you get to sort of live in, that's probably, especially nowadays, the way things are, a lot better than the real world. So
what part of you was disheartened when you realized that the movie takes place in 2005?
Well, that never triggered when I was a kid, like the date on stuff. And now there's all these sci-fi films and stuff where they're just like they're in the past now, even though they're in the future. It's like Escape from New York is in 1997. It's like makes you feel a bit old, to be honest, because that was so futuristic. And now it's like in the past, but you can just take it as with a grain of salt, that it is just another world. It's like an alternate timeline where the Transformers actually happened. You got to suspend your disbelief for a bit.
Like the old Hanna-Barbera cartoon Thundar, and in the opening it's like the future, 1993. So yeah, same thing as the Escape from New York.
It's exactly the same. Yeah.
I actually tweeted out the director of Escape from New York and Escape from LA at the start of the pandemic, and I said, when did Escape from Los Angeles become a documentary? Disneyland's closed. You know, there's mass hysteria. Plastic surgery has taken over. You can't tell whose face is real anymore. Like you've predicted the future. Thank you for this. And now, how do we end it? Never got a response though. So
yeah, it's quite depressing when they're the ones that sort of make sense. It's like Soylent Green is probably the most accurate prediction of the future. And that's where people eat people. So
well, on the bright side, you know, although those of us from the Western world feared 1984 more than anything, not realizing that Huxley was right and we're living in a brave new world, let's enjoy our entertainment and our submissiveness to our arts and enjoy Transformers the movie itself. You know, you have multiple posters behind you of various iterations of your art for the film. Was there a piece that you absolutely loved that you made that was rejected by Hasbro or the studio? Or was there one that like was selected by them and you're like, really, that's the one instead of this other one? Because I thought this other one was better.
They went with my initial concept straight off the bat, which was quite good. But the only thing was I wanted to use the logo from the opening of the film. So the blue and the red. And then, you know, when the movie comes and then it goes through the O of the movie and it's all the circuits and stuff, and it's really cool. I wanted to have that as a motif, but they've got the sort of brand trademark logo for the movie, which is pink and yellow. So I had to use that. That made it work. That was the only constraint I had. Oh, and I couldn't show any dead robots.
They're going to see enough of them in the film.
Well, exactly. You got to just have a little bit of suspense before, you know. So,
all right. So beyond good, beyond evil, beyond our wildest imaginations, what was beyond your wildest imagination that became a reality for you?
Everything in anything in life, or just work?
Yeah, in life, work, whatever, all of it.
I don't really know. Probably having my daughter. That was pretty good. And I was never expecting that to be as amazing as it was. And then work-wise, this last couple of years has been really, I've done Empire Strikes Back, which was special for me, Flash Gordon, which was special for me, this Transformers, which is very special for me. I'm starting to try and sort of kick down doors at Paramount to do Star Trek the Motion Picture. That's very special for me. So I'm like shouting at everybody that I can, let me do that. So it's just these projects that are personally special to me that I've really sort of loved doing the past couple of years. Has been good.
All right. Yeah. Since you're a Trekkie, I'm going to put you on the spot real quick.
Go for it.
And since the Transformers, you know, live action movies with the CG is at Paramount, this is the tie-in. Star Trek the Motion Picture or Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan? Because there's been a huge debate as of late online between which one's the better film.
Has it really? Well, visually, Star Trek the Motion Picture is better. I think that's an incredible looking film once you get past all the scenes of them just sat around doing nothing. But in terms of drama and character and narrative and action and surprise and suspense, Star Trek 2 takes it. It's just got more going on narratively, I would say. So there you go.
It's good to see that Matt Ferguson is a diplomat and running for office in the House of Commons for 2022. So I love your diplomacy in all of this.
Oh, it's just how I feel. I like all the Star Trek movies. I like Star Trek 5. So, there you go.
I'm just teasing you because anytime someone gives a diplomatic answer, I just assume that they're going to be running for office soon.
I would be terrible. Yeah, terrible as a politician.
Don't worry, so are they. So,
Well, is that true? Yeah.
like my campaign would be, you've done worse. Like, that's my campaign slogan.
Yeah, there's been worse, so why not me?
And I've been too honest. I was just like, look, I'll be party A for now, make all my money, repent in about 20 years, switch to party B because, of all my sinful nature, and then just take all the money from party B at that point and then retire comfortably. But, I'm too honest to be a politician. You can't sit there and honestly tell them you'd be bought and paid for like the rest of them.
No.
Yeah. Matt Ferguson, I know it's really late in the UK, so I thank you so much for your time. I hope we didn't wake your daughter because, she's got to rest peacefully for whatever her event of tomorrow is. I talked to somebody in Ireland not too long ago, and they recently extended their lockdown from, I think, 2 kilometers to 10 kilometers. So hopefully you have more than a 10-kilometer radius in where you can go. Transformers the movie on 4K comes out August 3rd in the United States. When does it come out in the UK? And then let us know where we can find you on social media to connect with you.
So I think it's coming out in September the something in the UK. The same sort of time as the standard 4K, because the Steelbook's is like out first as a sort of special edition. So, but yeah, September time for that. And then you can find me online on Twitter and Facebook and all those sorts of places. If you just put my name in, Matt Ferguson, it'll pop up.
Perfect. Matt Ferguson, thank you so much for your time. Again, in the United States, August 3rd for the Steelbook edition. UK, God only knows when, apparently. No, I'm teasing. But sometime in September. So we're excited for it. And the big UK tie-in, Monty Python's Eric Idle is one of the voices in there. So,
well, I would do the Holy Grail for sure. That is a great film. There you go.